Welcome back, folks. We have a great show in store for you today. We will be joined by myself. Today, I'm going to run solo, and today we're going to take a look back at the past 156 episodes that we have done since August. But first,
hello, friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Today with Tally. The mission and goal of this podcast is to bring an engaging conversation that will add value to the lives of everyday people. We will inspire, encourage, educate, and tell the stories of America's finest men and women in an effort to motivate you to live your life to its fullest potential. Be sure to follow us on social media and search Today with Tally. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and share the program as well. Ladies and gentlemen, your host of the evening, Mr. Brian Tally.
welcome back. A tremendous Thursday to everybody out there today. I am live here, and if you want to be a part of the program, you want to leave messages, you want to send me, comments, whatever it may be, feel free to do so here on the show today. Before I start, I want to wish my beautiful girl, my Princess Delaney, a happy 14th birthday today. She is just a beautiful young lady who's doing great things. And before I get started, I want to wish Delaney Tally, my beautiful angel, my ride or die, a happy 14th birthday. Now, folks, I've never done this before, live and interactive and take comments from people. So I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn this along with you. So if you guys have any comments, whatever, feel free to, to post them, and I will do my best to read them and interact a little bit with you. Let's see. I think I might have a comment here. Oh, happy birthday. Thank you, Jessica. We appreciate that. Oh, look at that. Mission Fish, my friends from SoCal, the Barber family, Jessica and Brian. So, guys, today's podcast is going to be looking back, taking a look back at where we are and how far this program has come since August, since God put this podcast on my heart. We have done 156 episodes. And I just wanted to go back on this Throwback Thursday, if you will, and take a look back on the past guests that we've had, and, as well as the future of the Today with Tally podcast. I also would like to know what your favorite show has been, what your favorite podcast has been to date, and where do you listen to this show? As we are on YouTube, and we're on iHeartRadio and Google Podcasts and Amazon Music, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify. We have so many landing spots, if you will, so many platforms that we broadcast the show to. So it's always nice to know where people are listening. Again, what your favorite show is, and what you would like to continue to hear on our podcast. But today, again, we're going to take a look back at when things first started back on that Monday night in August. I had woke up and said, you know what? Today's the day we start the podcast. And so that's when Tuesdays with Tally was created. And then all of a sudden, it morphed into Today with Tally, because I just love doing this so much and getting out there and talking to people and lifting them up and talking about their businesses and talking about stories of perseverance and resilience, and supporting nonprofits, veteran nonprofits, and entrepreneurs across the country. So whatever I could do to help, that's pretty much what this program is all about. It's all about adding that real life value to the lives of everyday people. But our very first episode was Brandon Mancini. He was a great show, and he's the first guy that said, "I'll do it." And ever since then, it is, like I said, it's morphed into 156 episodes very quickly here. And, that was a very good show. Then we had on retired Marine, Master Sergeant Mike McGrail. He added a ton of value, especially, being a retired Marine, talking about all sorts of things to include health and wellness. Then we had on Chris McCart, a good friend of mine from South Jersey. He's a Philly guy. These Philly guys, great guy, salt of the earth. We talked about veteran suicide. And, that was a program that was near and dear to my heart, because it was his brother that would end up taking his own life and being a part of the 22 Veterans a Day. So he had a golf outing that we raised money for in memory of his brother. Episode 4 was John Pappy. That's right, the one-legged skier, former Marine. He lost his leg due to VA medical malpractice. And, one thing led to another. And I don't know how many dozens of surgeries this guy's had, but he's never stopped. He's never quit. He is continuing to do big things in the veteran athlete program, if you will. And like I said, he is the one-legged skier. Now, all these episodes can be found on YouTube under live. They're not under videos. They're all under live, as all these are live streamed. The next episode that we did was when I was interviewed by Honor Cafe on the Hall of Heroes. That was a very good podcast that was put on by Rob Harmon. They interviewed me, and I told a little bit about my story and where I am today after the battle that my family and I went through. Episode 5, that was Jeremy Harrell out of Kentucky. That's right, Veterans Club. Jeremy's doing some big things in Kentucky and remains a huge part of the veteran community. And folks, go back and watch some of these. And there's so much value out there that can be had by just going back and listening to some of these shows. You're sharing them with your neighbors, with your colleagues, with your friends, with your family, or whatever it may be. I know it can add so much value to so many people out there. And then you may even learn, hey, look, I didn't know that nonprofit was available to me. I didn't know they had these sorts of things available to the veteran community or the military community or the civilian community alike. So again, a lot of these folks that come on here, they got a lot of really good information. I've been so blessed. I have so many great guests that have come on the show and have shared their testimony and share what they do, every single day in this walk in life. The next one we had was Craig Sawyer. Now, Craig Sawyer's he's a retired U.S. Navy SEAL. He was also in the Marine Corps. He works on the border. He is a huge child trafficking advocate. This man has dedicated his life to protect children and to protect our borders and really our sovereignty. And Craig Sawyer, the Saw Man. I mean, this is a national hero in my eyes and everything that he has done, past and present. The next episode we had was with Mr. Toombs. Now, his son, John Toombs, would end up starting he committed suicide in the VA hospital. And why? Because he got kicked out of a VA mental health program that he was in inpatient. And unfortunately, because of him being kicked out of this program, he went back to the VA and said, I cannot get kicked out. I need to be here. And he was still sent away. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And he would end up writing a letter and doing a video and taking his own life tragically at the very VA that turned him away. Would end up, starting this chain of other incidents, if you will. And things have really never been the same at a lot of these VA campuses, as I believe there's been about 8 or 9 now that have kind of followed suit since 2016, since John Toombs really, in his eyes, had no other way out except for taking his own life due to the post-traumatic stress, anxiety, depression, everything that he was battling. And so the Toombs family have now had several bills in Congress. They're trying to get the VA hospital named after Sergeant John Toombs. So we never forget how he was treated at the VA, and ensure that it never happens again to other veterans who are checking themselves in that need immediate emergency care. That was a very emotional and heartfelt podcast, but it's podcasts that people need to hear. That was episode 7. Episode 8 was Purple Heart recipient, Staff Sergeant Jeff Picard, who is now, a tremendous champion for the Waves Project. He started the Waves Project as a veteran that was going through the program, and now he's an ambassador here in Houston, Texas, and runs pretty much his own Waves project for taking veterans out on scuba diving trips. And that's another great nonprofit, the Waves Project. Episode 9, one of my favorite guys, Sergeant Major James Cabarrus. Talk about a guy that is a motivator, that is a great father, a great champion to the military and veteran community. This guy has never quit, written all over him. And he is one of the most motivational and inspirational men I know. And talk about leading by example every single day. Sergeant Major James Cabarrus. Episode 10, that was Chris Paul Montessa. Now, this guy did the podcast with the cigar. I mean, this guy is awesome. He's one of the best comedians, too, that I've heard. And he's an up-and-coming guy. He's in Florida, and he always is at the local improv, given these stand-up, comedy shows. And he has grown into being very, very, very quickly somebody that people want to go see and pay good money to go see, to laugh, right? To laugh, because we all need to laugh, especially in these days that we're living in right now. Everyone's so offended by everything. So sometimes you just need to grab a drink, sit down, and listen to some comedy and laugh. Episode 11, that was Representative Al Baldessaro. Now, this is a heavy hitter here from New Hampshire, who served in the New Hampshire State House for years. He is now retired and has moved on and moved down to Florida, where he is always hanging out with his dear wife. He's also a retired Marine. That was a great episode. Episode 12, Jesse Esterly and his book, Born in a Bar. That's right. He is a U.S. Marine, retired gunny, and he wrote a book. These stories are stories that are scented by Marines. That a lot of these stories are, they're for other Marines to read and to kind of think back to their times when they served overseas. These stories could be really scented from anybody that served in the Marine Corps, and and a lot of them, I gotta say, don't even write their name. It's just anonymous. So if you haven't seen Born in a Bar yet, I definitely recommend that you go check that out here. Now we got a comment coming in here. Another happy birthday. Thank you so much for the birthday love for my daughter. The next episode was Bree Jackson with NBC News. Now, she is a national anchor. I got to meet her on my tally bill run in Congress, as she was a major person that helped break my story in DC, who was with, at the time, Nexstar, who has like 200 stations nationwide. So if you're on with her, it gets punched out to about 200 different stations. She is a great news reporter. Again, like I said, she's with NBC News now, and she reports all over the nation on a bunch of different topics. She's down on the border right now today as Title 42 is ending, and the stories that she puts out there are very good. So I definitely recommend that podcast as well. She's also a huge champion for all female athletes out there. She was a standout at Maryland and played college basketball before embarking on this journalism career of hers. The next episode was Sergeant Major James Baum. Talk about a Marine Raider. This guy right here, motivator. And again, so much value can be added from these men that have served in the Marine Corps half their lives or more. And the things these men have seen and have been through definitely deserve to be heard. And Sergeant Major James Baum is one of those guys. Episode 16, the legendary broadcaster Jeff Katz at a WRVA in Richmond. That is News Radio WRVA. He is a political talk radio host, and he has his own show every single day in Richmond, Virginia. Check out that episode. Now we're only to episode 16. Holy cow. I don't know how I've done all this so fast. Episode 15, that was my state rep, Texas state rep, Steve Toth, who was also on the board of directors for Mighty Oaks. This guy's doing big things in the Texas community, as well as the district that he represents. And I'm glad and honored to be his constituent, because he is definitely working hard for the people of Texas every single day, as well as the veteran community, and bringing veterans who are in need of help to go take them to Mighty Oaks. And Mighty Oaks is a great program. As you can see my sword over there in the background right there. I am a alumni of Mighty Oaks, and it did change my life. And, it did more than just change my life. I have built relationships at a Mighty Oaks that are sure to last a lifetime. The next one was Chris Denton. Now, this guy right here, talk about overcoming addiction and showing adversity and resilience in a way that very few show. This guy totally had a very addictive cocaine problem until one day he hit rock bottom, and ended up on top of Rampart Range in Colorado Springs, looking at an empty bottle of a fifth, I think he had pounded, and he was ready to take his own life, and he tried to, and it was a failed attempt. Thank God he's changed his life, and now he is motivating and speaking to others to be that shining light in somebody else's dark world. To give them the guidance that they need, and to know that you can change your life for the better, and let me show you. So this guy definitely leads by example. Episode 18, Ian Grinalls. This guy is a volunteer fireman. He's a former Marine, great father, great husband. I mean, just an all-around salt of the earth, upstate New York, patriot. Ian's a great guy. That's a great episode. He actually did the episode from the firehouse. I remember all this stuff. It's just awesome. It's like all these people in are part of my family, part of my podcast family. And this is a lot of fun, really, going back and talking about all my past podcasts, because you may not even know about them. And so, oh, yeah, I want to go listen to that one. That guy sounds interesting, or that gal sounds interesting. The next one was episode 18. That was combat veteran Ryan Garza. He ended up losing his leg in combat and has a tremendous story to tell, and talk about what he saw, how this incident took place, and how his life has forever changed due to the incident that he lived through while fighting a war overseas, to keep us all safe, happy, and healthy and prosperous here in the United States of America. It's the sacrifice that these men and women give every single day to keep that Liberty Bell here at home ringing. And we must never forget the service and the sacrifice of our military and our veterans every single day. And folks like Ryan Garza are a direct result of that, and what that cost may look like. Episode 20, a fierce fighter. That's right. Crystal Kent. I'm talking about an advocate. Advocacy 101 here. She is about as tenacious as they get. She was she played a monumental role in the passage of the Tally Bill. If you put anything on her plate, she will take it and run with it, and she will ensure that that job gets done. Episode 20, Crystal Kent. She is definitely one to listen to if you are in the advocacy world or you want to take that next step or that journey toward being an advocate. She is definitely somebody in the advocacy world that you can look up to and mentor and ask questions to, and she would be more than glad to take your questions and perhaps even help you on your own journey. Episode 21, that was with retired police officer Michael Segru, who was in a police shooting. He had to discharge his weapon and fatally shot a bad guy, and his life changed forever after that incident. Post-traumatic stress ensued, and now he is an advocate that is working with police officers across the country, telling his story of resilience and perseverance, and how he can help others and through his struggles. From how his life changed, when he was going through some of the toughest times of his life. Episode 22, that was with Marine combat veteran Jarvie Curtis, who was big with irreverent warriors, silky hikers. These guys get together, they build that camaraderie. Other veterans, and they go do these silky hikes. This guy's out of Salt Lake City. Great guy, great show, and irreverent warriors are doing big things always in the veteran community. That's always a good bunch to go hang out with and kind of, again, bring yourself back to those silky days when we all served. Episode 23, one of my good buddies, one of my best friends, actually, Jonathan Houlihan. This guy is one of the top naval JAGs in the country. Actually worked with Governor DeSantis when he was in the Navy as well. Jonathan is now a private attorney on the outside. He's still in the Naval Reserves, but that episode 23, was great. He talks about what it's like to be a JAG officer in combat, the kill chains, when to fire, when not to fire, when ordnance gets dropped from airplanes, all these, how to prevent international incidents that could be detrimental to our troops on the ground. And again, that episode was amazing. Episode 23, Jonathan Houlihan. This is a patriot, and this is definitely some of America's best right there that we have to offer in our country. Episode 24, that's Chris Braz. He is the founder and the president of Outlaw Desert Racing, Adrenaline Therapy. They take veterans and first responders out, and they have the need for speed. These guys race off-road vehicles in the desert, and they just, they're just killing it out there. Pretty sure almost every single week, if not at least once a month, man, these guys are out shredding it up on the desert floor from West Texas to Nevada, to New Mexico, taking a bunch of veterans out there and giving them that escape, that adrenaline therapy. The next episode, one of my favorite singers, episode 25, that is Adam Martin. He is a combat veteran and also the lead singer of Blackbird Anthem. This guy is on Spotify. He's pretty much everywhere you get your music online. Adam Martin opens up for a lot of veteran events, for a lot of galas, a lot of fundraisers. Go check him out online. Adam Martin, he's an awesome singer. And again, a U.S. Army combat veteran. The next one we had was episode 26. That's Cody Dawson. This guy's a former roughneck out there on the oil rigs in the Gulf. And now he is an entrepreneur, and he's running a successful business here in Houston, Texas. A great father, a great leader, a great husband. And this guy right here is definitely another one of those guys. Salt of the Earth, episode 26, Cody Dawson. We go into episode 27, which is Pastor Jason Nelson, who had nothing but so much value to be added to that podcast, talking about his time when he went to Ukraine on a humanitarian mission, and so much of the stuff that he's doing within his church and the lives that he is touching on a daily basis. Episode 28. That was a fun one. Randall Reeder. You ever watch those movies and you're like, man, that's a tough guy right there. Well, he's Hollywood's most recognizable tough guys. He's the guy in the scene when you're in a bar, whatever, you're having a beer and someone's, you bump into somebody and you got that big guy looking down on you. Well, that's Randall Reeder. He's been in Deadpool. He's been in 21 Jump Street, Harold and Kumar's Favorite Adventure, whatever that movie is, Harold and Kumar. I mean, this guy's been in, I don't know how many, dozens and dozens of movies. And he's also the star in a new show that he's in that is on PureFlix about a biker. He was a one percenter and turned into a saved savage, and how the church and how God has helped turn his life around. That's a great show as well. He plays the character Simon in this show, and for some reason the name of the show is not coming to me right now. Let me see if I can look it up. Let me see here, because it's a very good show. Sons of Thunder. You got to check out Sons of Thunder on PureFlix, and you will see Randall Reeder in his new show. Episode 29, we had on a producer and a director, a filmmaker, Steve Moon, who has put out a show, a movie that has been very effective in the military and veteran community when it comes to preventing suicide and telling the stories of those who have given so much to our country and then come home and fight a war here. So when you're overseas and you're fighting a war, chances are when you come back, you're going to bring that war home with you. And that war is with nightmares and post-traumatic stress and anxiety and depression and feeling alone and the hopelessness and the helplessness and you going into self-isolation. That's what that movie is all about. Episode 30, Josh Jaros. He's a huge father's rights advocate. A lot of times when people get divorced, they have a big problem with kids and custody. And he is one of those fathers who was bound and determined to be a part of their, of his child's life. And he has worked tremendously hard on fathers' rights and advocating within the state of Texas on doing just that. So fathers do have rights and they can be a part of their children's lives. And he has fought this in a very honorable way and has made a lot of noise in Texas, all in a positive way. Now he has a great relationship with his ex-wife and he gets to see his kids all the time and all is good in the Jaros household. Episode 31 was with Paula Morgan. She's the founder of Twin Rotors Mission. They do a lot of equine therapy. And she is also based in Texas. She's always showing up at all these veteran and military fundraisers. And she is a great asset to have. Again, if you know people that are in need of equine therapy, I think she even goes out and does shooting courses and stuff like that. I always see her, doing things like that as well. So check out Twin Rotors Mission online. The next one was episode 32. That was with world record holder Lori Keaton. Now, she's one of those wakeboarders who goes out there for, I don't know how many hours on it. And she already holds a Guinness Book of World Records for how long she's been out there doing these wakeboarding type events. And when I had her on, she had been doing this for about 17 years, and she would end up surfing for nearly 15 hours. 15 hours in a lake, I think up in Missouri somewhere, nonstop. They would just toss her energy bars, so she wouldn't cramp up and kind of pass out on this wakeboard. But 15 hours on a wakeboard, Wow, that's absolutely incredible. And she's got a great story as well. Lori Keaton. That was episode 32. Episode 33, monster truck driver. I'm talking this guy right here goes above and beyond. When I say that, this guy jumps those monster trucks. I mean, he gets up there. I mean, this guy clears 5, 6, 7, 8 vehicles at a time, smashes them all. This guy's name is Jeffrey Leary. He's out of Colorado. He even drives a truck that's called the Veteran Truck. That's right. He goes out to a bunch of events as well. He brings his truck out. Kids can climb on it. He goes to veteran events, veteran nonprofit organizations, and he's there in his big old monster truck, and he's one hell of a driver who's just moving his way up that food chain. Our next guest that we had, episode 34, was Benghazi survivor John Tig Tigan, special operator that worked in Benghazi during the CIA annex attack in I think it was, what was it, 2000 and, well, it was 9/11. The year was 2012. It was the Battle of Benghazi. When Islamic militants attacked the American diplomatic compound in Libya. And he the story of holding it down for 13 hours before reinforcements were called in to help save the day. But talk about a hero. Episode 35, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller. That's right. He went viral during the withdrawal, if you will. That was a chaotic withdrawal that would end up costing our U.S. service members 13 lives were taken that day. I believe 11 Marines, a soldier, and a sailor were tragically killed because we were not prepared. We did not plan this withdrawal through all the way like we should have. Ended up costing lives. And Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller stood up for the good of the country from his battalion that he commanded in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, did a video calling out the highest brass in the military and the DOD, and he got in trouble for it. He's now a civilian, but he's written a book, and that book is doing great. The book is titled, let me see here. The book is titled Crisis of Command. So definitely need to go check out that book. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller is a good guy, and everything he does is for the good of the country. And you definitely need to see Crisis of Command, especially if you're a military leader, or even if you're an entrepreneur, a civilian leader, whatever it may be. He is a guy that you can definitely learn from through his words and through his experience as well as a combat veteran. And that's Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller. We are now moving our way to episode 36. That was Easton Gibbs. This guy is making his fast track to the NFL. That's right. I called this kid's football games when he was at Temecula Valley Pop Warner. Easton Gibbs is a standout linebacker with the University of Wyoming. That's right. He is a Cowboy from Laramie, and he's one of the captains on the defense, and he's poised to have another breakout season. I think he led the team last year in tackles, had a touchdown, and some interceptions and sacks. This is a big-time college D1 linebacker that has filled the roles of other great linebackers that have played at the University of Wyoming. And again, I sincerely and truly believe that he will be drafted after this up-and-coming season and make his way into the NFL. That is Easton Gibbs, episode 36. Episode 37, my great friend Derek Sisson. He is the founder of America Bourbon, and he's got so many other lines: beer, vodka, you name it, he's got it. This guy's out doing great things every day. He goes to a ton of events. He has booths set up. I even think he has a beer now out, Merc beer maybe. But he is known for his bourbon. Check that out, episode 37. Episode 38 was finding purpose through pain and how to recover after life has thrown you a couple of curveballs and has kind of left you flat footed in the box, not knowing what to do, and kind of looked at that ball that went by you and said, damn, how am I going to hit that? Well, that was me, episode 38. I kind of go through how how I made my way through a lot of my own struggles in life. The next one, Darren Isham. Now, this guy is talk about a American hero. This guy spent years in the Navy SEALs. I want to say he was in for 24 years. And again, a lot of this is just off memory here. And he was one of the few guys that actually went to boot camp to become a Navy SEAL. So a lot of the times when you go into special forces, you have to join, give you a job, and then your secondary job would be making it into to go into BUDS and becoming a Navy SEAL. This guy went right into SEAL training, passed it, made it, and he spent his whole entire career as a U.S. Navy SEAL and has done tons of missions all over the globe, to include even being a part of the rescue of, at the time, PFC Jessica Lynch was the first rescue for a POW behind enemy lines since World War II. Episode 41, Christopher Martini. This guy is a champion in the military, veteran, and first responder community. He is a filmmaker. He specializes in documentaries. He tells the stories of veterans. He tells the stories of folks in the military that have tremendous stories, and first responders. He gets all that information out to the general public in a way that is absolutely incredible, how he tells his stories. Christopher Martini, if you don't know him, Google him, go to his YouTube page, see his work. He's all over the place. Great guy. And definitely recommend his work if you're looking for somebody that you need a documentary done, or if you have a friend that needs a documentary, reach out to Christopher Martini. This guy's based in Brooklyn, New York, and I think he's going to be finding his way down here to Texas perhaps one day, or maybe Florida. A lot of people from New York find their way to Florida. And again, just a patriot and somebody who loves America and does everything the right way, and puts stories together to where everybody can understand the flow of the story and make it all make sense. Episode 42, Natasha Readers, PhD. Now, this is a South African-born native. She found herself in some crazy stuff going on down there in South Africa, spoke up against it. She was, a big pilot down there. She flew for years, and she saw some corruption, and she called it out, and it nearly cost her life. And she found her way here to the United States, where she is now living a great life here in Houston, is now an entrepreneur. But her story is absolutely incredible, and it's unlike anything you've ever heard. You want to listen to a crazy story? Go to episode 42, Natasha Readers. We even did a 2-part series on it because it was that crazy. Episode 43, Andrew Canales. Now, he's a U.S. Air Force combat veteran who is also now the founder and the CEO of Houses for Warriors, a 501c3 in Denver, Colorado, who helps transitioning homeless folks to living the life that they were intended to live. He is there to give them a hand up and not a hand out. A lot of these veterans that are homeless are battling addiction. They're battling mental health issues, and he is there as a bridge, if you will, to get them off the streets and back in living a life of contribution. And the work that he has done has certainly not gone unnoticed. Another great guy, Andrew Canales. Episode 44, my great friend Adam Wheeler. This guy was in the 2008 Beijing Olympics. How many guys that were in the Olympics? Well, he was in the Olympics and he even medaled. He took bronze in the 2008 Olympics. I've had the pleasure of holding that medal, and my son Brady even put it around his neck when he was a youngster. I think probably around 2013, 2014. I'm like, how does that feel to have that around your neck? And again, wearing a Olympic medal from the United States of America, unreal. Adam Wheeler, this guy has dedicated his entire life to public service. He was in the Coast Guard. This guy was a police officer in Colorado Springs. Now he's a Denver firefighter. Again, who's thriving. He teaches fighting and wrestling. He's a coach. He's somebody that people look to for leadership and mentorship. And this guy right here is one of the toughest men I know, Adam Wheeler. Plus, I think he went like 1-19. He had one win. I believe it was his freshman or sophomore year in wrestling in Lancaster, California, where he was raised. But he didn't give up. He didn't give up. The coach took him under his wing and said, I see something in you. I see something. I don't know what it is, but I see something in you. And I believe in you. And I'm going to take you under my wing. Well, that led him to the 2008 Olympics. And his life has never been the same ever since. That's episode 44, Adam Wheeler. Episode 45, that was my brother Scott. Scott Talley, combat veteran, hundreds of combat missions he flew in the C-17 as a flying crew chief. This guy's seen a lot of stuff. He's had a lot of folks on his plane, a lot of interesting folks on his plane. From Delta Force all the way down to Navy SEALs, Marine Recon, Raiders, you name it. He has delivered cargo. He has airdrop supplies in combat all over the globe, as well as big time in Afghanistan and Iraq. And he, like I said, he's flown, I don't know how many combat missions they've been fired upon. I don't know how many times, but that C-17 is a powerful airplane made by Boeing. And he had a great career in the Air Force, and he's continuing to do big things now as a financial advisor in Colorado. And I'm very proud of him and his accomplishments. Episode 46 is Christina Pacheco. She's the founder of the Patel Foundation. Her life changed when one of her best friends tragically took his own life. Why did he take his own life? Again, the wounds of war. She found that she needed to stand up and do something. So she created this 501c3, this nonprofit to help veterans in need. And she's doing great things here in Houston. And again, her work has not gone unnoticed. Episode 46, a very moving and very touching story. Episode 47, Chad Drummond, who is in New Mexico. Now, this is a guy who never served, but he serves in a different capacity. That's right. He's a firefighter, and he also takes veterans out for adrenaline therapy. He does this with his own vehicles, with his own off-road race vehicles. He gets veterans together, first responders together who may be struggling, going through some difficulties in life. He puts them on a four-wheeler, a buggy, and they go out and they have fun. They share in camaraderie, have some food, drinks, maybe even gather around a campfire, and they build relationships, and they're there to talk and make people feel better, ultimately. Episode 48, Jeremy Knopf. He's the CEO of Spartan Media. This guy will help you get noticed as a respected authority in the media. He will take your business to the next level. He will help you, retain customers, keep them happy, and teach you, how to strategically write columns and get posted in, and get your columns and your writings and all that stuff, your op-ed or whatever it may be, and featured in magazines like Forbes and, and all these other destinations where people get their news and see their opinion pieces. Episode 48, Jeremy Knopf. Episode 49, Donna Michaels, who is a U.S. Navy veteran, retired, as well as a retired police officer who is now in Florida. She spent 21 years in law enforcement, and she has been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, And she's got that never quit, never say die attitude as well. And that podcast was a very good one. She's also an author, and I would definitely go check that one out. Episode 51. Now, this was a fun one. My good buddy Dave Fecco. Now, let me tell you how powerful the internet is. Let me tell you how powerful podcasts are. Now, he's an Uber driver in Columbus, but he always has my podcast on when he's driving his customers. And all the time I get emails saying I was in an Uber and I heard your podcast. I love it. I love your story. I love what you're doing. I now listen on Spotify. I now listen on Google. Can I come on your show? I mean, I've met people through Dave Fecco because he is out there just listening to the podcast. And when people get in, they start to listen and like, oh, wow, this is kind of a cool show. And I can't tell you how many new listeners we've picked up from the Columbus, Ohio area because of Dave. And Dave's a great guy. I mean, this guy's dealt poker in Pittsburgh. He's one of the top dealers down there at one of their casinos. I think it's Three Rivers casinos, and just the salt of the earth. He's one of the nicest gentlemen I've ever met in my entire life, and I'm honored to call him a friend. Episode 52 was Natasha Picard with the Yellow Ribbon Fund. Now, what they're doing every single day in the veteran and military community is absolutely incredible. Talk about bringing together a group of folks for the greater good, their families, and go out and they do events, and she puts on all sorts of these events from really across the country. She's one of the ambassadors for the Yellow Ribbon Fund now here in the Houston area, Texas. And I've been out on a few of the events that they've done. We've been to the NASA. We've done family pictures. So there's so much that they offer over at the Yellow Ribbon Fund. Plus, she is also the wife of a Purple Heart recipient, Jeff Picard, who was injured in combat. Episode 53, U.S. Army combat veteran Adam Poppenhaus. Now, this guy lost both of his legs in combat. Talk about a story of resilience and perseverance and never giving up, and taking a bad hand that he had dealt to him and turning it around and turning that bad hand into a hand that he can now play successfully, saying, hey, look, I don't care if I lost my legs. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to live my best life. And ain't nothing going to stop me from doing that. Ain't nothing going to stop me from being a great husband, a great father, a great provider. Just because I don't have legs doesn't mean I lost my life. And I'm here to show you that I can be a great example to all those out there who have gone through tragedy in their life and traumatic experiences, the highs and lows of life. Adam Poppenhaus, that is a great podcast. Episode 53. Episode 54, the great Shannon book, Combat Vet. This guy's a devil doc. He's doing amazing things in the community. He even just had a new MTV style music video that was produced and directed by Christopher Martini and Christy Statham, who are, again, great champions in the community. As I was saying before, Christopher Martini makes documentaries, music videos, you name it. Dear Mom was Shannon's newest release on his video, on his MTV style music video that was just released May 6th of last week. Go to YouTube, check it out. Shannon Book Music, search Dear Mom. It is an amazing music video that will speak directly to you, and be ready. You may shed some tears. It is one of those ones that will definitely hit you in the heartstrings, pull and tug on those, but it's okay because we're all human, and humans, we have feelings and emotions, and it's okay sometimes to let it out. Episode 55, somebody I went to high school with, somebody I blocked for as he was a running back, Major Aaron Haynes. That's right. United States Marine Corps combat veteran and also a pilot in the Alpha Hotel 1 Cobras. This guy right here is one of the nation's best. And again, some of the best that our nation has to offer. Episode 55, you will hear stories, combat stories of being a pilot in the Cobra over there in Afghanistan and Iraq, protecting the troops and the assets on the ground to keep them all safe and out of harm's way. Episode 56, retired Colonel Rob Harmon. Now, this is a man of character and courage. Again, guys, the perseverance and the resilience that I have seen from my guests are unlike anything I've ever seen. And that's why they're such great guests. This show is about never giving up and never giving in and to battle through some of life's toughest obstacles. This guy's paralyzed. He's in a wheelchair. Why? Toxic exposure. I just did a podcast the other day on this poor family, this poor Gold Star wife, widow, 3 beautiful kids. Her husband passed away like that. Lymphoma from burn pit exposure, from everything that our soldiers and Marines and airmen and sailors alike have been exposed to while fighting a 20-year war. Well, now they're all passing away. It doesn't need to be like that. They need to get the care that they need. And Colonel Rob Harmon is one of those guys. Yes, he's still with us, but he's lost his ability to walk. You know, he's been left paralyzed because of the toxic exposure that has ruined his body and has messed with his brain and all those different functions that tell you, how to walk and, how to, write and all that stuff. Episode 57 was with Sergeant G. Now, this guy is a medical cannabis advocate in the veteran community. He's a former Marine. And what he's doing is he is really bringing light to alternative medicine. And he's doing some amazing things in the veteran and military community, again, to try to raise that awareness, to say, hey, look, medical marijuana and cannabis and CBD and hemp and all these other ways here that all these different cannabinoids can help heal people rather than being on addictive pain meds and other pills that are brought to you by Big Pharma. So this guy here is an advocate for medical freedom and for cannabis. That is episode 57. That was a great one. Episode 58, I went to bat for a Vietnam veteran who has 3 Purple Hearts, Bronze Star. I mean, this guy was heavily wounded in Vietnam in 1968. Come to find out that he had a very low percentage at the VA. A lot of these Vietnam veterans don't have very high ratings. They didn't know how to get the ratings. And again, they're not tech savvy. And a lot of them just fly under the radar. That's why we have so many homeless Vietnam veterans out there. Well, I sat down with him and I took him from 30 to 40%, all the way to 100%. I ended up writing an op-ed on him, and we got this job done within 6 months. He was sitting at 100%, and that he needed to be at for like the past 50 years. But we got the job done, and now he could rest well at night and easy, knowing that he can now retire in peace and enjoy the rest of his life being a 100% service-connected, disabled veteran who took so much for our country. Bullets that are still lodged in him. Bullets that have destroyed his shoulder and his heart arrhythmia that's led to surgeries. Tim Brinkley. He was also saved by a man who would end up earning the Congressional Medal of Honor. Episode 58 is an absolute gem, and that's a great show. You definitely need to watch that one. Episode 59, Tara Burnett, Executive Director of the Hearts Museum in Huntsville, Texas. Now, this place is everything, past, present, the history of the U.S. military and the museum and the stories that they tell in there. They have all sorts of helicopters and tanks outside. I mean, howitzers, you name it. You're going to walk in there and you're immediately going to be blown away by what you see in there. Episode 60 is episode 60 Army combat veteran William Garay. He was a U.S. Army combat veteran who served as a paratrooper, and he tells his story of what it was like overseas and what he's doing now today. I think he's on his own podcast, and he is a big part of the veteran and military community here in the Houston, Texas area. And he just helps get other people's stories out there. And he is living his best life, doing everything he can to raise that sort of awareness. Episode 61 was with Justin West. He is a U.S. Marine combat veteran and Purple Heart recipient. What does he do now? Well, he races. He races motorcycles and ATVs. And he's one of the best disabled veteran riders in the country. He was hit with 11 IEDs. A car bomb, an RPG. I mean, this guy, you see his stack. It's like Chesty Puller. And he's been through a lot of life struggles, and he's never given up. And this guy just takes it all in stride and keeps going. Justin West, episode 61. He's also looking for sponsors to help him continue on with his journey of riding his ATV all over the country. And pretty much riding for the Corps, riding for the veteran community. Episode 62, that was a podcast that I did to tribute to my beautiful wife, Jenny, when we had our 24-year wedding anniversary. That was a good podcast. It's a little tear jerker, but I enjoyed doing it, and it was all great. Episode 63 is how to write a legislative bill. How to engage in Congress in a way that you can draw their attention in a positive way and actually have meaning and value to share with these members of Congress and influence them in a way that is important enough that they can actually do something about it. If you see something that is not working, say something. And, that's our duty as Americans, is to stand up and to fight for what's right. And that right there is a podcast for any advocate. Episode 63, how to write a legislative bill and how to effectively communicate it and lobby it with results, with positive results. Episode 64, Nick Rom, Warriors Next Adventure. What doesn't this guy do? He can literally do it all. This guy's a one-stop shop, man. This guy's a fighter. I mean, he is a entrepreneur. He's a podcast host. This guy he's a sailor. I mean, he just took a boat halfway around the world. I mean, again, what this guy does and what he has done in his life is truly, truly remarkable. It's truly inspiring. Episode 64, Nick Rom. You will not want to miss that one. The next episode was 65. That was with Mike Ryan, who is I think he's the president of Semper Fi Brands, which is Big Stick Bourbon. It is a Marine Corps owned company that produces bourbon. And they have this charred oak stick inside each bottle of bourbon. And I tell you what, if you're a bourbon guy, you definitely want to go to Semper Fi Brands and check out Big Stick Bourbon. That episode was a great one. It kind of tells how it's all made and what type, the aging process and the wood barrels and the smokiness of the bourbon. It tells you all that stuff. And that was a really good podcast. Episode 66 was with Mark Vital. This guy is getting ready to sail around the world on a mission on a sailboat that he's taken with 4 or 5 other folks. And he is leaving very soon to do that. Excuse me. Holy cow. I've done a ton of episodes. Mark Vital is another guy who has completely changed the course of his life and the trajectory of his life after nearly taking his own life because of the wounds of war, post-traumatic stress, everything else that comes along with living a life of anxiety and depression and, nearly being at the end of your rope, saying there's no way out. My only way out is to take this way. Well, he turned it all around. He's living his best life now here in Houston. Again, what can't this guy do? He's an executive chef. He's a sailor. And he is a big part of the Skeleton Crew Adventures. And that's why he's going to be sailing halfway around the world here very soon. He just cut his huge beard off. I can't believe it, but hey, he had to do fireman training. It's all part of the process of getting on that sailboat and sailing literally halfway across the world. And he's doing it. I think they're the only veteran boat that's in this race. So go check that one out. Episode 66, Mark Vital, an incredible story. If you've ever had your bad days of depression and anxiety and even had the inkling of suicide, you got to listen to that. Episode 66. Episode 67, Damon Williams, U.S. Army combat veteran, paratrooper. He has got some amazing testimony. What he has seen overseas, you cannot unsee, and he talks about it. The story that he tells, it will definitely pull on your heartstrings, and it will definitely put life into perspective. He also talks about the struggles at the VA, about how he can't get care he needs, after he was injured as well, serving this great nation. Episode 68 is a must-see. PFC Jessica Lynch. POW. PFC Jessica Lynch. I still remember the day she was rescued behind enemy lines, and now I get to have conversations with folks like PFC Jessica Lynch, as well as one of the great warriors, the Navy SEAL Darren Isham, that helped save her. I've had them both on the show. Incredible story, incredible testimony. She gets raw, she gets real in this podcast. Episode 68. You want to hear the story of a true American hero and a true patriot who had endured so much and still does to this day. Lives and is haunted by what happened during that fateful day when she was captured. Episode 68. Episode 69, another good friend of mine, Cole Lyle. He recently went viral when his dog, I think it's Kaya, recently passed away. He is a veteran advocate who lives in Washington, D.C. His dog was terminally ill. He wanted to bring it back home here to Texas to properly finish his days out here. Well, Southwest Airlines did something very special for that working dog, if you will, for that service dog, I believe Kaya. An incredible story. Episode 69, Cole Lyle. He's also the executive director of Mission Roll Call. Again, fighting for the veterans and the veteran community every single day in Washington, D.C. And he now even has a new profit out that will help veterans pay for medical bills for their service dogs. A lot of veterans can't afford the care for their service animals. Service animals are very, very expensive, and a lot of them need vet care sometimes. And if they're sick and they need $1,000 here, $500 here, or $800 here, and they can't afford it, they're on a fixed income. That's where Cole could come in and start helping these people, these veterans that have these service dogs, and help pay those bills to get those dogs back home and healthy and working again for their owners and their best friends. Episode 70. Wow, you want a good one? I'm telling you. This was done on the Marine Corps birthday. Okay. Shane Crutchin, an absolute patriot. This guy had a flamethrower with no shirt on during this podcast. And we don't do a lot of silly podcasts on here. And we did talk about a lot of really serious stuff. But it starts off very good. It'll definitely grab your attention right from the get-go. Shane Crutchen's a great guy. Again, a U.S. Marine, combat veteran, Purple Heart recipient. You will not be disappointed in that. Episode 70. Episode 71, one of my favorite people, Christy Statham. Talk about, again, a veteran champion. Everything that she does in the veteran and military and first responder community, she puts on events. She doesn't ask for anything. She just does what she's been called to do, and she does it very well. She helps people from all over the area here and all over the region to put together successful events and galas to raise money for all the different nonprofits here that give back so much of their time and resources and donated funds to a very vulnerable and at-risk community that is the veteran and first responder community. She does a great job at that. She also has an incredible story that she has lived through from when she was younger. She would end up losing her sister tragically. And she talks about that openly and freely. Episode 71. Episode 72, we had Carrie Bigford on. She's a mental health coach, as well as a medical freedom advocate and a vaccine mandate advocate as well. She's working with the Texas Vaccine for Choice, I believe it's called. And she's doing some incredible work right now in the state house as we are in the legislative house season, and they're watching bills. They're constantly working and advocating in Austin right now for the betterment of the Texas people. Episode 72, that was Carrie Bigford. She also talks a lot about mental health as well. There's coping strategies that she has done and continues to do today to help those people that need help the most. Episode 73, Marine veteran Brian Barber. He is the founder of Mission Fish. Look at that. Mission Fish. He just sent me a care package. It had beef jerky in it, had a shirt, had a hat, had a towel, had a koozie. I mean, this guy's out doing some amazing things. He charters these massive fishing boats in Southern California, takes out a bunch of veterans, first responders, and they go for a day of fishing out there where stories come out and where the real healing happens out there on the open waters, the beautiful waters of Southern California, as they're reeling in monsters of fish. And Brian's just a great guy. I mean, he's what you see is what you get. He definitely cares deeply about the community that he serves. Episode 74 was with Christy Pierce. She has a company, a nonprofit, Prepared for Outdoor Adventures. She takes veterans out for equine therapy. She's also one of the instructors out there, the Joy Ride in Magnolia. She works with folks that have special disabilities and handicaps, as well as the veteran community, to get them feeling better, build that confidence, get them talking, get them living again. Christy is doing some amazing stuff. She's also an artist. She does a bunch of work with her hands. She makes jewelry. That's definitely a very good episode. Episode 75, that is the founder of the Waves Project out of Southern California. That's based in Murrieta, California, Steve Rubin. Now, the work that this guy's doing every single day from across the country, taking veterans scuba diving. This guy takes veterans scuba diving. He teaches them. He gets them all their accreditations and all their certifications, and he brings them down where you can't think. All you can think of is that present moment of breathing your air through a regulator and seeing the openness of the ocean and all these fish and sharks and eels and the colors and the nature and all this stuff, and talk about healing. Go underwater and you'll begin to heal. And that's what Steve Rubin has been called to do. And this is not his day job, folks. His day job, he's a very busy logistics operator out of Southern California. He does this because this is what he was called to do years and years ago. He wants to take veterans. He wants to help heal. He wants to help prevent veteran suicide. And this is his way to get out there and heal those who may not be able to heal themselves, but he gives them that key, if you will. And they can go on there and they can say, yep, this is exactly what I needed. And a lot of the times when people go through his program, they end up becoming like hooked on diving. And they start to share it, and they start to go on their own, and their life changes for the better. And that's what he does. He's there to give folks an opportunity. Episode 76. Now, he used to be New York City's top headshot photographer, but now he's America's top headshot photographer. That's right, the great Barry Morgenstein out of New York City. This guy is one of the top photographers in the country. The work he does is incredible. He gets that shot that you're looking for, that $1 million shot. This guy he deals with celebrities. He deals with veterans, military veterans. I mean, first responders. Whoever wants to come on into his studio, he travels. He goes to DC. He comes on into veteran events. He is there. He is a top headshot photographer. He will get that perfect shot for whatever publication it may be. It may be, he does shoots for Fox News and all these different media and relations companies. And I mean, big time folks. Barry Morgenstein. That's a great show. Kind of tells on how he got involved in the photography world and where it's taken him in life and where he plans on heading. Episode 77, definitely need to see this one. It's not every day you get to sit down with somebody that was shot 10 times. 10 times in combat and lived to tell about it. Well, the story doesn't end there. In 2020, at the height of COVID, he picked up a guitar and learned how to play the guitar on YouTube. Now, he's one of the top country music singers around, especially in the veteran community. And it's someone I listen to every single day, Scotty Hastings. Scotty Hastings. The Stories That They Tell is his #1 hit. Go check it out. The Stories That They Tell, anywhere you get your music online. I personally get mine on Spotify, but I mean, he's everywhere. Scotty Hastings. And again, 10 times. Shot 10 times in combat, and he has a lot of nerve damage down his arm and in his shoulder, and it's tough for him to play the guitar because he already has that handicap, if you will, in his arm, and it's hard but he does it. He works through it. He battles through it. He finds ways to still get out there, play the guitar that's so new to him. He writes songs that just come to him. They're all just real life experience songs. And The Stories That They Tell is my favorite song. I'm not even going to lie. That is my favorite song. The next episode that we did was episode 78, Richard Hicks. This guy is a U.S. Army combat veteran, and he's also a championship boxer. This guy is a world-class athlete. He's based out of Killeen, Texas. He helps people get in shape. Health, wellness, you name it. Episode 78, Richard Hicks, Sr., U.S. Army combat veteran, and a championship boxer. We learned how he got in the ring and how he was successful in the ring through him putting in so much work that he was not going to get beat. He was going to go in there and show all the hard work and all the dedication that he put into this craft of his to become the best boxer that he could possibly be. Richard Hicks. Episode 79, that's with Steve Zaley. Now, this guy has spent a lifetime, the last 20 years, writing a book on World War II. His father served in World War II, and he wrote a book called They Are Only Gone If They Are Forgotten. This was a genuine, sincere, heartfelt podcast that I could just feel the history being exchanged between him and I. Steve Zaley, an incredible guy, an incredible story. And he spent a lifetime gathering information, calling his father's brothers and sisters in arms. If they were still alive, he would interview them. If they had passed, he would go to the next of kin to gather pictures and stories and document all this to tell the story. Again, they are only gone. They are only gone if they are forgotten. That is an excellent book by Steve Zaley, episode 79. If you like history, especially World War II history, go on and you will not want to miss episode 79 with Steve Zaley. It's as good as they get. Episode 80, the great Vince Van. Now, this guy, he is a singer-songwriter. He's a U.S. Navy veteran. This guy is opening up in bars all across America, especially Texas and Oklahoma. He's a country music singer. And I mean, this guy is living it up. He's got so many great songs. I listen, the Jeep song is really good. He's got one that's called Silverado. This guy, I mean, like, he lives on the lake. He's a boater. I mean, when you think of Redneck Yacht Club, that's what comes to mind when I think of Vince Van. And let me tell you, episode 80 was a good one, and you will not want to miss it if you love music. And if you like that country lifestyle, you will love it. Episode 81, Jennifer Bridges, talk about a medical freedom advocate, standing up for the good of the country when nobody else would, putting herself out there, making herself vulnerable, putting a bullseye on her back to stand up against the hospital that was mandating that she get a vaccine that she did not believe in. Well, she's taken her story to new heights, and it's now entered federal court. And this story is not over yet, folks. Jennifer Bridges, you want to hear her story? Episode 81. It will definitely open your eyes, and you will understand what a lot of these doctors and nurses were up against during the height of COVID, and where it all led to and where it's leading to now. She's an incredible woman, probably one of the strongest women I know. Jennifer Bridges is, again, salt of the earth, as good as they get, a great American fighting up for the greater good of the country. Episode 82, Bruce Stewart, one of my favorite guys. This guy's a chaplain in Montgomery County. This guy is here to help all those folks in need. He delivers bad news. That's what this guy does. And he's also a great leader and champion, and not only in Montgomery County, but in Harris County and in Houston and in Texas. The assets that this guy has to offer and the resources. He is a suicide advocate as well. He does a ton of work, within the children's realm when it comes to protecting kids and custodies and all that stuff. He's just an all-around great guy. Episode 82 will really tell a story on where we're at in Montgomery County when it comes to, fentanyl and childhood suicide and a lot of the other things that often go unnoticed in a community because it's bad. And a lot of people like to stay away from the bad. They just want to concentrate on the good stuff. Well, this guy sees the bad day in and day out, but he's also very godly. I mean, this guy, he is a strong believer. He gets through these tough days with faith, and he is not afraid to talk about it. And he's a great man. Episode 83, Tim Stroud. This guy ran for Congress. This guy is everywhere. If there's a veteran event, you can find Tim Stroud there. He is a veteran advocate. He is very well known in the Texas and the state, the state of Texas, as well as in the Houston area. And he's also, again, a great asset to the veteran community. If you need something, you call Tim. If he doesn't know somebody, he knows somebody that does. If he doesn't know it, he knows somebody that does. And that's a great episode as well. We talk about a lot there in episode 83. He's also like a coach, and he's a great speaker, and there's so much that he can offer. Episode 84, who has become my platinum sponsor on the Today with Tally podcast, Chase's Choice. You hear me talking about them all the time because now it's all I do, right? I've got my salves, and I've got, all of my CBD oils and creams and all that stuff, because it helps with pain and anxiety and depression. Ken, the founder of Chase's Choice, is saving lives every single day. He is a big researcher and development on the benefits and the health benefits of cannabis and CBD, and everything that this medicine can do to help heal everybody in our country, especially children that have seizures, epileptic seizures, and they have other diseases or cancers, post-traumatic stress, veterans coming back and they're getting hit with tons of pills and big pharma. And this guy can come in and say, hey, look, there's a better way. Let me show you. Trust me, and I'll go on this walk with you. And again, there's not too many guys like Ken out there. He's a one-of-a-kind guy. And he has been a major champion in my life when it comes to me taking that step and getting 1% better and doing something I had never done before. And that is taking these CBD drops. And there's so much that I've learned about all the different cannabinoids that are found in the plant that are all antipsychotic. It's not going to make you, like drunk or loopy or anything like that. It's just pure medicine. And that's what we need in the veteran and military and first responder community. Really, the whole United States can benefit from it. And that's why I'm now advocating strongly in Congress for the use of medical marijuana and CBD and hemp products, because it will save lives, and it will also help save the lives of folks that have disabilities. They have handicaps. They suffer from pain. They suffer from mental health problems. That is medicine, and that works. Episode 85, Charles Strange. Now, this is another episode, folks, where you will not want to miss. Episode 85, Charles Strange. Now, his son was killed in action in Extortion 17. Extortion 17. Google it. Extortion 17. Now, he comes on the program and he drops it all. Tell all on what happened, the conspiracies behind it, from beginning to end to where he is now. Well, Charles has become a major player in the veteran advocacy world. And he is a Gold Star father, and he now has a nonprofit, and he hangs out with other, his son was tied to SEAL Team 6 in Extortion 17 when they got shot down in Afghanistan on August 6th of 2011. Now, it would end up being the largest loss of life in the 20-year war on terror, when 20 folks, 20 people, 20 souls lost their life in that when that RPG struck their Chinook. And he had just been home to celebrate his 25th birthday right before this happened. And a lot of people say that this was payback for us taking Obama out, or bin Laden out. And it was just an extraordinary story. I mean, I really can't put words on it. Episode 85, Gold Star father Charles Strange, Extortion 17. Check it out. Episode 86, Claudia Ovalis. She is a children's rights advocate. Again, very similar to Josh Charles, who we had on the program earlier. She is a U.S. Marine veteran. She does a lot of work in the Texas State House. She advocates for people who can't advocate for themselves. Episode 87, Don McCoy. I mean, dude, this guy is like the voice of the Houston area, the voice of Katie Fulsher. Talk about a very successful chamber of Congress, chamber of commerce. That's what he does. I think he's the president there of the Fulsher Katy Chamber of Commerce. And this guy is full of wealth and knowledge and comes strong. He's a MC. This guy can speak unlike nobody else. He is very well connected and a great asset to anybody that is building a business or is involved anyway in entrepreneurship. And he would definitely love to sit down and talk with you if you're ever interested in joining a Chamber of Commerce. Episode 88, U.S. Marine Combat veteran Chris Whittemore. Now, this guy is a sniper, as well as he was a Marine recruiter, and he was also a helicopter crew chief on the UH-1s. He's also an author, and the book he wrote is about trial. Well, it's trial. What's it? Triumph. Oh boy. The book is Terror. Oh man, I'm screwing this all up. Chris, are you on here? Hey, help me out, man. Can't believe I've screwed this up. Terror to Triumph. It's a story about this sniper, right? This U.S. Marine combat veteran who experiences the wounds of war and comes home and, and begins to heal, right? But all the different classifications of going through all those steps to get to where you are today, from being literally terror to triumph, the resilience, the perseverance piece, the never giving up, the telling the stories of what it's like to be in war and the fog of war and the smells and the sights and the sounds and the sirens, coming home, dealing with post-traumatic stress, getting through it, getting 1% better, and living to fight another day. That's Chris Whittemore, Terror to Triumph. Go check him out. Amazon. He's on Facebook. His book is incredible and is definitely very worthy of being purchased. And he's a very great guy. He works today as a veteran advocate at a veteran service center where he helps veterans get ratings, VA ratings. Episode 89, I call this one the Band of Brothers. It's two Marines and a Navy SEAL. These guys are like best buddies, and they have some great nonprofits that they're a part of. The Alaska Adventure Project that I'll be heading to in September to do live podcasts from, as well as building guitars for wounded veterans through their 501c3 nonprofit. The Alaska Adventure Project, Talent Scale, and the American Patriot Music Project. These three men, Darren Isham, Billy Boughton, and Doug, they've all come together to form this great, valuable resource or resources, if you will, through these three incredible nonprofits that they run. Episode 89, we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. Episode 90, I was able to get the founder and the CEO of American Military News on the show. Talked about news, how they pick what they write about, and what's published and what's not published, and op-eds, and what's worthy of being told. I mean, there's so much news. We're just inundated with news, and there's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much space that you can sit down and write about. So, he talks about how he started American Military News and where it's kind of taken him. I mean, this platform is massive, American Military News. And, I think they're based out of New York as well, New York City. And He talks about China and the threats to the United States of America and everything that they write about. It's all, it's nonpartisan. If it's news, they're going to just give you straight facts. But they do a lot of reporting on the military as well as other news related items that can be either related to the military or just big time breaking news events. They will cover pretty much everything in the media, but they will do it in an apolitical way. Kellen Gaida is a great CEO, and again, the CEO of American Military News. If you want to learn more about how it all works in the publication world and the news media world, and how these stories develop and break and how they pick and choose what they're going to report on, go check out episode 90. Episode 91, my great friend, Congressman Morgan Luttrell, who is doing a great job here in Texas 8, representing about 800,000 constituents just north of Houston here, Texas 8. He is working very hard every day and has aggressively taken this job very seriously. He's involved in the House VA committee. He's in the House Foreign Affairs. He's in the military committees. I mean, this guy is doing some great work very, very quickly. And talk about a voice that we need to have in Congress during these times and days. He is a great asset to not only Texas 8, but to the United States of America, the military world, the veteran world, the first responder world, an American hero in my eyes, and everything that he has done and continues to do for the country. And he's a great congressman. And we sit down and we talk about his agenda on what he said he was going to do, and he's doing it all. So go back and listen to it, episode 91. You'll see for yourself what you see is what you get, and he is the epitome of a great American. Episode 92, Sarah Adams, who is a former CIA officer. She wrote a book about Benghazi as well. She's also, she was an intelligence and targeting officer in the CIA and a Benghazi expert. And so she talks about what she knows, what happened during the 9/11 2012 attacks at the CIA annex in Benghazi, Libya. And she wrote a book on it. The book is known. The book is called Benghazi, Know Thy Enemy, a cold case open source investigation into the Al-Qaeda terrorists who attacked the U.S. consulate and CIA annex in Benghazi in 2012. So this is some big time information that she shares with us, and was a very interesting, to say the least, very interesting podcast on really connecting the dots on what happened in Benghazi and how it's all played out ever since. Episode 92, Sarah Adams. Episode 93, Regina Paxtis. You've been seeing me a lot hanging out at the local equestrian center, Joyride, out in Magnolia, Texas. Equine therapy. What they do at Joyride is amazing. They put special needs people on horses. They put people that are in wheelchairs on horses. Equine therapy. It doesn't matter what type of disability that you have. It could be a mental disability, a physical disability, you name it. They work with you. They're a nonprofit 501c3 that works with civilians and veterans alike. And you go out there and you heal and you meet new people, and it's all camaraderie, and you connect with a horse. The connectivity there with horses and the setting out there, very relaxing, beautiful setting in the oak trees, and you can just smells like Texas out there. You got the barns, you got the stalls, you got the horses, you got beautiful Joyride. Go check them out online. Just Google Joyride in Magnolia, Texas, and you'll see what I mean. Or you can go listen to episode 93 with the great Regina Paxtis. Episode 94, dude, this guy's a badass. Talk about a Green Beret with 10th Special Forces Group. This guy is a combat veteran and has picked up a hobby that helps him with his post-traumatic stress and everything that he's seen and been through during his career as a Green Beret. He is now a woodworker. This guy builds some of the most beautiful plaques, and he does a lot of this for the special operations community. And the things that he makes out of wood and out of steel is things that you really don't see like in stores, because everything he does is so custom. And that's episode 94 with Eric Gilganast, U.S. Army Green Beret Special Operations Forces with 10th Group. Episode 95. This was with Dr. Josh Briley, the Clinical Education Director for AlphaStim. You may have seen, I just did a Facebook post not long ago. I got my AlphaStim. I got an AlphaStim now, and I use it every night. Neck, spine, back, the pain, and then I also use it for anxiety and depression. These are things that stimulate your brain. And I've only done about 7 of these procedures now at night. Does it work? I'm not sure. I haven't quite nailed it down yet. But I think I'm having some good experiences with it. But again, it takes my body a lot of time to figure out if things work or not, just because of the pain tolerances that I have and what I fight and battle through every day physically. And so I am blessed to have received this AlphaStim. And in episode 95, Dr. Briley talks about the effects it has on people that suffer from chronic pain, anxiety, and depression, and how this device can help heal you and take away that pain, and so you can live a good life and increase your quality of life and go out and do the things that you might not have done for a while, because the pain has kept you at home, or the anxiety has kept you self-isolating. This a machine can definitely perhaps help you, and you can learn about it more. Episode 95. Episode 96. This was Lisa Regina. She is out of New York. Again, we've had a lot out of New York City area. I think she's in Jersey, actually, but pretty close. She is a big champion in the veteran community. She is also a writer, and she has a new episode out that she's doing with her nonprofit called Heroic Episodes. And she's also working on training veterans to get their drone pilot licensing, because, let's face it, people get those drones and you need an FAA security clearance or a license to fly those, whether you're in the real estate market or if you're doing it for special photography. She's there to help get you that Part 107 commercial drone pilot license. And Lisa Regina also has an incredible story, and she shares it on the podcast. Episode 96. Episode 97, I talk about my intermittent fasting journey and what it's done for me, and the amount of weight I've lost, and a lot of the benefits of intermittent fasting. Everybody's always wanting to get in shape and go on these fad diets and all that stuff, and I just kind of just break it down. Episode 97, my intermittent fasting journey. It's a good one, especially if you're curious about it, or what it does and what it doesn't do, and how do you not eat for 24 hours every single day, and how do you divulge in one meal, and I break that all down. Episode 98, Chad Prather. Now this guy is all over the country, one of the top most sought after comedians that we have in our country. He's also a very political piece. I mean, this guy, he is a strong-armed guy. He also ran for governor of the state of Texas. Chad Prather is as real as they get. He's not hiding behind a suit. I mean, this guy wears a cowboy hat every single day. This guy grew up in Georgia. He's now living in the great state of Texas. He's an advocate. He believes in freedom. He's a patriot, and he's a comedian. And this guy is opening up in bars and all different sorts of venues all across the country. And he is a very highly sought after ticket, if you will, because people enjoy his presence. He's funny. He's genuine. He's smart. This guy's smart. Don't let his comedy and the way he talks be, he's a redneck. Oh, dude, this is one of the smartest guys I know. I mean, this guy's a philanthropist. This guy he's got it going on. Episode 98. We talk about how to think for yourself, how to critically think. And you will not want to miss that episode. The great Chad Prather. Episode 99, Christopher Martini. I've already mentioned his name probably 4 times already on this show. What this guy does in the veteran and military and first responder community is unlike anything that I've ever seen from a documentary film maker. Now, I had him on the show to talk about a story that he did, a documentary that he did that is soon to be all over the place. It's with Scott LeBedo out of New York. And if you don't know who Scott LeBedo is, he's an artist. He is political. He's a patriot. He stands for the flag, and he paints murals, and he paints flags, and across the cities. And I believe it's like Long Island and in New York. But anyways, he tells the story of Scott LeBedo, and the show is called The Relentless Patriot, the Scott LeBedo story. Now, go check it out. Go to YouTube and type in Christopher Martini or The Relentless Patriot, and it'll bring you to it. Go check it out. The trailer is amazing. And you will definitely like and appreciate episode 99 and how all that came to be with the Scott LeBedo story. Episode 100, one of my favorite local folks, the great John Boucher. That's right. He's the man from Louisiana with the name of Boucher. I don't know why his name isn't Bobby, like the water boy. But this guy's a political pundit. He's got an everyday podcast. This guy is doing the work that nobody wants to do. It's not fun. He's a man of faith, and he puts himself right in the middle of the political spectrum. He speaks truth, and what he does is he does it in a very elegant way. I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, he's hard to hate. And that's the one thing that he's got going for him, where he can sit down with both sides of the aisle and perhaps come up with solutions to problems or, ideas on how to make our community better. John Boucher will also hold elected leaders and officials accountable. That's what he does on his podcast. So if you screw up, he'll talk about it. And we need folks like that in the country to hold people accountable for when they screw up. Or if they're not doing a very good job and they think they're doing a good job, he'll say, no, you're not, because you're doing X, Y, and Z. And John Boucher has a great show. He has great guests, Sandra Witten, Walter West. These guys are just great Americans and great Texans. He's got a great show every single day. Check him out, John Boucher. Episode 101, Martin Etwop. This guy is a courageous man. This guy moved here in 2006 from Uganda. He even ran for Congress. He came here because he saw his country has been in war forever. He wanted to raise his family in America. Opportunity. And so he came here, and now he's starting to see his American dream evaporate before his eyes because our country has changed so much over the years, and he's starting to get concerned that we're going down the same path of perhaps some of these other countries that people have fled from to come here to live their life in peace in the United States of America. The land of the free and the home of the brave. Martin Etwop is definitely a Ugandan by birth and an American patriot by choice. This man's story is incredible. He will tell you how it is in Uganda. He will tell you what it was like to grow up there as a child and what ultimately brought him here to the Woodlands, Texas. Episode 102, Kimberly Moyers. That's right. She will knock your door down. She is a fearless and tenacious advocate. We talk about her story. She is a U.S. Navy veteran, as well as a veteran advocate who works tirelessly, day in and day out on veteran initiatives. She goes to every single roundtable event there is, every congressional event that there is. She's always in Austin. She's at the State House. Again, she will beat down your door. So if she calls you, just answer the phone. It's just easier. If she calls you, answer the phone, or else she'll be knocking on that door. But she works in a very positive way. She's out there to deliver a message. She's out there to make the community a better place for you and me, and for a ton of the veterans that she serves every single day, selflessly. And being an advocate, it's not an easy walk. It is exhausting. It is tiring. It will drain you. It will consume you, but she does it well. And we need people like her to carry that torch for change. Episode 103, Brandon Mancini. Again, he was my very first podcast episode. And then he was my 103rd. What do we talk about? Well, we talk about his personal trainer, business, and we talk about health, and we talk about wellness. Episode 103. It's a very inspiring podcast episode. And, if you're, looking to get healthier or to just get better at life, episode 103, you're going to learn a lot from Brandon Mancini. Episode 104, that is with Philip D. Blackman, another Purple Heart recipient. This guy worked protecting former President George Bush, the first family, Condoleezza Rice, Dick Cheney, John Kerry, Colin Powell. He ran dogs. And, he's worked Super Bowls. Again, he's worked with the Secret Service. And he's also a combat veteran, Purple Heart recipient. In 2006, he was out conducting a route clearance mission when an IED went off, and he suffered TBI. And now he has a podcast, and he likes to tell the stories of some of America's finest men and women, as I do. And then he also talks a lot about current events in politics, and he kind of dives into the things that really everybody else is scared to talk about. So he's a great guy, has an intense story. Episode 104, Philip D. Blackman. Check him out. The guy is great. And you will have a friend in him. He's a guy that has helped me. I mean, he has been my mentor on this podcast. He's the one that said, go to StreamYard, go do this, go do that. He set me up. Philip D. Blackman, good guy. And you will definitely love his story. Episode 105, Margie Taylor, Gold Star mom, lost her son, Joey Lenz, Fort Hood. There's been over 200 service members die in the last 4 years in Fort Hood. What's going on in Fort Hood? He died in his sleep suddenly. Why? Well, he had a heart that was like 3 times the normal size, and he died of medical malpractice. That occurred in the Army. His charts and his blood and all that stuff showed that he had problems. He was never notified of these problems. The problems ended up getting worse. It cost him his life. And now Margie Taylor is fighting for change in Congress. That's right. I am helping her with her own bills and her own legislation that we can ensure that our U.S. men and women, our service members that keep our country free and safe, help give these military folks the blood tests that are needed, these yearly physicals that are needed. And right now, a yearly physical is not mandated in the U.S. Army. It's not even mandated in the DOD. So unless you go to sick call or you deploy, you're not going to have that full workup. And she's fighting to get that full workup every single year. And she's also working for transparency and accountability. If something is wrong in a chart, she wants that reported back to that soldier immediately so they can take appropriate action to save their life if need to be. And that's what doctors are there for, and nurses and all these medical health providers are there to protect the service members. And like she likes to say is, unfortunately, through a lot of these times, the soldier's weapon or the Marine's weapon, their service rifle, gets better care than the actual soldier or Marine that's pulling the weapon's trigger itself. So I would think that you would need to have the same, right? Your rifle is treated, I'm talking like up here, but the medical's down here. We need to do this. We need that happy medium there where everybody gets the time and the service that they deserve. That's episode 105. It is a heartbreaking story. Margie Taylor does a great job. She makes herself vulnerable, and she talks about that story about her son and how his memory can never be forgotten. Episode 106, author John Henley. This guy's a U.S. Navy veteran. He was in the CIA. He was on submarines for years in the U.S. Navy. He's also a very highly sought after author. This guy has a bunch of books out. He also helps veterans author their own books. Author John Henley can be found online. Just Google him, author John Henley, if you want to write a book. Or if you have any questions, you want to reach out to him. This guy's awesome. He's got a wealth of knowledge, and he has an amazing story as well. I mean, just being on a submarine, he goes, man, these things are massive. It's like a building underwater. So what he's done is truly remarkable at being an author, and also helping those veteran authors achieve their goals and their dreams of becoming their own author. Episode 107, again, like Kimberly Moyers, Damian Bennett, U.S. Army veteran. He's also the president of his own 501c3, which is a veterans advocacy group, the Southeast Texas Veterans for Veterans. This guy will come beat down your door too. So if he calls you, answer your phone. It's always better to do that way. You could find him at all the local veterans events from Beaumont to Houston. And he is a authority in the veteran advocacy world. You want to learn more about Damian Bennett, his story, and everything that he's doing for Southeast Texas Veterans for Veterans, go check out episode 107. Episode 108, Travis Wilson. This guy is a pure badass. Another special operator. This guy spent years as a Green Beret, and he has a business right now called Alpha Elite Performance, where he sells supplements. He's all about health and wellness. He's got a great story. Again, a combat veteran who's seen a lot of stuff, and patriot, just an all-around great American who gives back to the veteran and military community. He also has another nonprofit where he takes veterans out hunting hogs from helicopters, taking a shot from a helicopter. These feral hogs here in Texas are all over the place, and they literally have bounties on their heads. So they go out there and they do a lot of hog hunting and shooting, and an all around great guy and a champion again in the veteran and military community. Episode 109, Gary Brugman. How many people do you know that have been pardoned by a sitting president of the United States of America? Well, Gary Brugman is one of those guys who was pardoned for something that he did in January of 2001. They stated that he violated the rights of an illegal alien when he was apprehending them on the border. He was a U.S. Border Patrol agent, and he worked the tough border region of Eagle Pass, Texas, and he was wrongfully convicted of this crime. And he served several years in federal penitentiary. And after over 20 years of him living with this on his record, President Trump pardoned him and has removed that felony to where now he can own a weapon and carry on with the rest of his life in the same honorable fashion that he went into when he went into prison, because all he has done is, again, a life of service. He served in the Coast Guard. He went to the Border Patrol. He did everything the right way. And then all of a sudden he finds himself in federal prison for something that they charged him with being too hard on one of the immigrants that came across when he handcuffed them. And it was, you just got to check out the story. It's episode 109. He gets real. He gets raw. He paints the picture. He tells you what happens. He tells you exactly how it all played out, and you can just see for yourself. You could just see for yourself. Episode 109. Episode 110, Chris Whittemore, the VA claim specialist. That's right. He's also the author to Terror to Triumph. And this was one of the best podcasts that we've done when it comes to ratings, if you will. This had a bunch of views on all of our streaming platforms, and because he has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to VA claims, as he is a VA claim specialist. Episode 111, Wyatt Roos. Now, this guy, he has like a cops type style. It's not really a business, so it's kind of like his hobby. So he created On Patrol TV that could be found on YouTube, and he goes out with the Riverside Police Department in California, and he videos these traffic stops and these confrontations with suspects. And he documents everything, and he plays them on his YouTube page. I think it's every Friday. It's On Patrol TV. Awesome show. Awesome guy. And what he documents is insane on the streets of Riverside, California. The next one is episode 112, U.S. Army Captain Gilberto de Leon. Now, this guy is another veteran advocate. Isn't it funny how advocates find other advocates? Love it. This guy was a part of the G-Rap scandal. And I can't get too much in the G-Rap scandal. It's intense. It's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard ever happen within the DOD, as well as in the ranks of the U.S. Army, and as well as the recruiting scandal that happened years ago. You need to check out this and what G-Rap is all about in episode 112. Episode 113 was with Alan. He is a former Iraq private security contractor. He talks about the stories overseas when he was serving over there as a private security guard and what he's doing now in the private security world still here in Texas. Episode 114, Demias Perdue. Now, this guy is a keynote speaker. He's a retired U.S. Marine. He's a combat veteran, And this guy is one of the best speakers I've ever heard speak. I heard him speak at a retirement ceremony for Sergeant Major James Kabaris, United States Marine Corps. And it was one of the best speeches that I've ever heard in my entire life. So I called him and I said, "You got to come on my podcast." And he agreed. And amazing what this guy thinks completely differently than anybody I've ever met in my entire life. Episode 114, Demise Purdue. He's writing a book right now, and I'll definitely be one of the first ones to read that because this guy's a wealth of knowledge. And again, he thinks differently than anybody else out there. He talks about his story on how he became a Marine and how it almost didn't happen, how that recruiter had to pick him up and say, "You're either going to go to prison or you're going to be in the Marine Corps. Pick one." Almost reminds me of the Adam Wheeler story when his coach took him under his wing as a high school student. Kind of the same thing happened to Demise. He had someone looking after him that saw something bigger in him and pulled it out of him to become the man he is today. Episode 115, this guy right here, great American. Retired Dr. Pete Chambers, Lieutenant Colonel. He's a Green Beret, Special Operations Flight Surgeon. This guy's career spans 39 years. And this guy is not done yet. I mean, he was awarded the Purple Heart on Star and so much more. He's actually working on the border right now as a private citizen. And his oath to the country and to the Constitution of the United States of America is something that he has taken very seriously, and as we all should. And he has never given up that fight for our country and for our sovereignty. And he's an amazing man, an incredible man with an amazing story. You've got to go check out episode 115, and you will see for yourself. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Peter Chambers. Episode 116, Liz Ullman. Now, Liz Ullman is the founder of Defend Our Protectors. She is a GRAP scandal advocate. She wasn't in the military. She's somebody that was very closely connected to one of these victims of the GRAP scandal that rocked the U.S. National Guard world, and has also been a great champion to Gilberto de Leon, who we were just talking about how he's been fighting his own GRAP scandal and, everything that they have been charged with federal crimes. And that's where I'm going to stop, because you've got to go listen to this story. Episode 116, Liz will paint a picture for you. Again, you could see for yourself, and you could draw your own conclusion on what the GRAP scandal is and what it's all about. Episode 117, the founder of 10th Mountain Whiskey and Spirit Company based out of Vail Valley, Colorado. Ryan Thompson. I mean, this guy is an entrepreneur, and he's got a great business. He's in the bourbon and whiskey and spirit business, and he's got a great story. And any entrepreneur out there, anybody on the fence about want to start a business, go check out episode 117. It will definitely inspire you and will help you make that decision, that informed decision on, should I become an entrepreneur or should I just stay on the fence? Well, I think he may help you make that decision. Episode 118, Jamie Popwell. What this guy does is awesome in the veteran and military community. He installs flagpoles and flags to veterans that want a flag and a flagpole at their house. It's called Flags for Vets. Flags for Vets. This guy, it's so simple, right? Who wants a flag and a flagpole? I mean, I do. I think that would be cool. I mean, I have a flag, hanging out in front of my house, but it's on the house, just attached to the house. But I mean, this guy comes in and he puts in a flagpole. It's in concrete, gives you a beautiful flag. They do a ceremony, and then he leaves. Flags for Vets. Jamie Popwell. He has an incredible story. This guy served overseas as also as a security contractor. He's a former SWAT officer, police officer. He was an undercover narcotics guy. He tells his story, and he talks about what he does now with Flags for Vets. And again, a tremendous man, a tremendous nonprofit, a great American. Episode 119, Osvaldo Gutierrez. This guy, Mexican-born, American patriot by choice. He came here at 16 years old, came to Texas, and at 18, he says, I want to fight for the United States of America. I want to be a Marine. I want to be the best. I want to be a Marine. This guy's only been in country, folks, for 2 years, and he's a Mexican national. But those 2 years, he wanted to thank the United States of America for giving him an opportunity in life to thrive. And he goes, I want to serve my country. I want to be an American. And as far as I'm concerned, I am an American. And I'm going to go fight for America. And I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be a Marine. And he went, signed up, not knowing a whole lot of English, courageously went through boot camp, did a successful job there, went into the fleet, went to combat, came back, and became a Houston police officer. And then he got shot in the line of duty. Osvaldo Gutierrez, an American hero, a local hero. And what's he doing today? Well, he's an advocate. He works for Concerned Veterans for America, and this guy is helping with veteran legislation, not only here in the state of Texas, but on a national level in Washington, D.C. Now, this podcast was one of my favorites, episode 119. He tells the story, tells it all. He gets real, he gets raw. But it's something that we need to do to fully understand what these men and women go through and what they have been through and what they have seen and what they cannot unsee, because it's meaningful. Episode 120, Monica Lewin. Now, she is a person who owns the Denver Social Society. She founded this. It is a very successful she's an event planner, pretty much in Denver. And she's also a free spirit. She loves to travel. She's been to, I don't know how many different countries. I know well over 20 some different countries. And she puts on some great fundraisers. Again, the events that she puts on in the city of Denver and surrounding areas is something that she's very good at. And she helps a lot of nonprofits, veteran groups, as well as a lot of civilian groups and all that stuff, raise money for their events. She puts on galas, and she's very good at what she does in the city of Denver. That's Monica Lewin. And again, if you want to become an entrepreneur, listen to episode 120, because we talk about it. What's it like, being an entrepreneur? What's the pluses, the minuses? But she's able to travel because that's the life she wants to live. She works hard for a period of time and then she leaves. I want to go on vacation. I want to experience life. And then she comes back and she puts on her events, and then she's a free spirit. She lives on her own terms. And that's a great episode, 120. Episode 121, talk about being real, talk about being raw. Aaron Childress, he author, this guy has written a book. It's called "This Is What I Learned After I Killed Myself." He struggled heavily with anxiety and depression and post-traumatic stress. And finally, one day he sat down and I think he hit rock bottom. And then he decided to rebuild himself into the man he is today. He's become a successful author. He is a speaker. And he is also a veteran advocate that is advocating to save lives And that's why he wrote this book, is to ultimately save lives. For anybody that decides to pick it up, episode 121, you want to hear a real one, there you go, the Aaron Childress story. Episode 122, I had on John Tig Tigan again. He threw his hat in to become on the ballot in the city of Colorado Springs. He ran for mayor a couple of months ago, and he wanted to come on and talk about what it was like to run for mayor. And we talked about what his agenda items would be, and that would be that. Episode 123, former U.S. Navy SEAL, combat veteran, Bill Brown. Now, Bill Brown is, again, he's a retired U.S. Navy SEAL, and he's also a lawyer. He lives in the New York City area, and he's also the founder of the New York City SEAL Swim that they put on every year. Now, this always gets plastered all over the news in August of every year, right before they start this, because what they do is they do this unique SEAL swim that begins in New Jersey. They swim out to the Statue of Liberty, then they go to Ellis Island, then to Manhattan, where they finish with the motivational flag run to the World Trade Center. And this spectacular weekend is shared amongst Navy SEALs, veterans, and first responders. And it's definitely something that you want to see. And he's doing incredible work as an attorney, as a lawyer, and he represents, again, some of our nation's most vulnerable and at-risk folks. Episode 124, Tyler Mattingly, the kid from New Caney, Texas, saw one of my podcasts, said, I want to come on. Can you give me some sort of a platform? I want to run for Texas State House. And if elected, I will be the youngest to ever serve in the Texas State House. And he tells his story. He tells about why he wants to become a Texas State House assemblyman and what he can do for the great state of Texas. That's episode 124. And again, it should inspire everybody out there. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you have a mission and a goal in mind and you feel that you're the best person for the job, take a stab at it. And this guy is courageous. Episode 125, Margie Taylor, once again, Gold Star mom. We talk about the loss of her son and what she is now doing in Congress to bring about good, positive change to protect our servicemen and women when it comes to their medical care that they receive while they're on active duty. Episode 26, Jason Murph, the CEO of Grill Your Ass Off, comes on the program. He talks about his time that he's spent in the military, and again, what he's doing now as a successful entrepreneur, how he started the business and where he is now, what his idea was and where he is now, and what his vision is for the future of Grill Your Ass Off. Now, check him out online. It is Grill Your Ass Off, and you will see how awesome his seasonings are. That's what this guy does. He creates his own seasonings, and he's got beautiful packaging, and he's in so many stores across America, and he tells a story, and it's amazing. It's very worthy of being told. Episode 127 was about supporting small businesses and writing and leaving meaningful reviews for small businesses, especially restaurants, mom and pop restaurants, the backbone of America, because that helps these people contribute to their community by serving great food. And if they serve great food, they deserve to be recognized for that, so other people can go in there and support their business. And that's exactly what we talk about in episode 127, how to leave meaningful reviews and supporting small business. In episode 128, we get down and dirty with attorney Benjamin Krause. That's right, folks. We talk about the state of the veteran community, the state of the military community, what he's doing as an attorney, what he's doing as an advocate, and the stuff he sees, within the VA, and everything that he is doing, again, as a voice of reason for folks that are going through some of the worst days and times of their life, and they need that help. They need that leader. They need that attorney in their life to guide them through, some very difficult times. Episode 129, Steve Groff, a third generation farmer. This guy talks about regenerative agriculture and how it will shape the, our crop in our food industry, and how regenerative farming is bringing about a lot of good positive change when it comes to growing your food and your crops and all that other stuff organically. And that's a really good show too. And he really paints a picture on the benefits of regen farming. Episode 130 was with Jean Sampson. She is a veteran advocate and a full-time caretaker. I believe it was her uncle that fell victim to some sort of VA medical malpractice some 20 years ago, and she is the caretaker of this man. He has suffered traumatic loss over his life, and that has affected her quality of life and the family of Jean Sampson. So we talk about the story of her uncle, Stephen Usbeck. That's episode 130. In episode 131, we had on Randall Reeder once again. We just caught up with him, Hollywood's most recognizable tough guy. He's always a fun guy to have on the show. Very faith-based guy, just a big, biker, but just a big teddy bear. Randall Reeder is as real as they get. Again, what you see is what you get. And all these people have so much in common. And again, the blessings for me to be in contact with so many great people, has been nothing short of a miracle, and has really helped drive this podcast to where we are today. Episode 132, Sean Laurie. He's a combat veteran. He's also a recovering addict. He gets vulnerable, and he talks about his struggles that led him to the streets. An addiction will put you in places that will scare the living hell out of you. And one day he woke up and said, okay, I can't do this anymore. And he's been a recovering addict ever since. And he tells his story on what he is doing now to stay clean and to stay positive and to help those who are struggling with addiction today. So he is a great mentor and a great leader for those who are struggling to say, hey, look, dude, I did it. You can do it too. Episode 133, an insane episode. This guy used to be a sheriff in Sandusky County, Ohio, and then he ended up being an inmate. Why? Because of his addiction. His opioid addiction led him to prison. Again, nobody is above the law, and this sheriff would find that out when he would find himself in a prison cell and would stay there for years. And now he is a tremendous advocate when it comes to drugs and alcohol and opioids, and runs a recovery center and is doing very well and is thriving. Episode 134, Mike Potter, U.S. Navy Chief. He's also the founder of the Wharton County Veterans Resources Group, another tremendous resource for all veterans, especially if you're in the Houston metro area. Go check him out, the Wharton County Veterans Resources. Episode 135, Dan Francis, the executive director of the Military Rodeo Cowboy Association. He talks about what the MRCA is all about, where their rodeos are. It is rodeo season, folks, and you can go visit them online today at mrca.org. And you can see, what they're all about. And if you're a veteran or if you're in the military, go sign up to be in a rodeo. And that's episode 135. He talks about his story. He talks about how he rode and what the MRCA is doing to help heal our nation's heroes as well. Episode 136, Chandler Rowdy Roberts. He's one of my favorite country music singers. He's out of Kentucky. He is a civilian. He's not. He has no affiliation to the military. His grandfather, I believe, served. But this guy is just an amazing country music star. And I called him up one day and said, "Hey, I'm a big fan. You want to come on my show?" And he said, "Sure." So we talk about his story, about what led him to Nashville, and what he's doing now as a singer-songwriter. Episode 137, Alex Rodriguez, and it's not the baseball guy, but the veteran, U.S. Marine. Let's see. Alex Rodriguez is a U.S. Marine combat veteran and life coach. And he also served time in the Army National Guard. He is a combat veteran that deployed to Iraq. And he talks about everything he's doing right now as a life coach, if you will, and all the resources that are available to you through his organization. Episode 137, that is Alex Rodriguez. Episode 138, Robert Langston, U.S. Air Force retired. He is the founder of Boots Laced Up, and he even has a big, his first annual gala coming up here very soon. I believe it's the 20th of this month. For more information, get with Christy Statham or with Robert Langston, and you can go join that Boots Laced Up event. Will be a great one. They're going to have a lot of great guests there. They're going to have a lot of veteran, like famous veterans there, and they're going to have great bands, and it's going to be a good time. Episode 139, Ken King. He's the famous attorney for the Camp Lejeune water. The contaminated water crisis that's going on. So if you or a loved one have been, were stationed at Camp Lejeune and were exposed to the toxic, all the toxins that were in the water, you would call Ken King. He is an attorney at law, and he will put you on the path to filing a tort claim to get the compensation that you deserve if you have been injured or killed due to the toxic water at Camp Lejeune. Episode 140 was John McLaughlin. He's a JAG officer as well as in the DC National Guard. He tells his story and what he's doing now as a attorney in DC, as well as in the reserves as a naval JAG. Episode 141 was my daughter, Alana Talley, San Diego State grad. And we talk about her college experience on to see if it's going to be for you or if it's not for you. And this is a great one for kids, for high school students, or perhaps early age college adults, to see if what the college experience is. Told some stories and where she is now using her degree. Episode 142 is the name and the face of AM radio in Denver, AM 710 KNUS, Stephen Tubbs. Stephen Tubbs is a tremendous advocate, and he speaks up for the voiceless, if you will. He gives the voiceless a voice, and he does it on the AM 710 KNUS talk shows every single day in Denver. On the drive home, AM 710 KNUS, you will catch the great Stephen Tubbs, and he is a conservative talk show radio host. Episode 143, we had on Chris Sadler, the founder of Honor Cafe, which is my second home. We talk his story, and we talk about how he opened the doors to the Honor Cafe and what type of place the Honor Cafe is. It is a living museum that serves 5-star cuisine meals, folks. You will not be disappointed in this episode, nor will you be disappointed in the food at Honor Cafe and the experience that you will have in Honor Cafe located in Conroe, Texas. Episode 143. Episode 144, we had on Brody Hastings. Now, this guy is the founder of the Raptors and Rifles. He will put veterans and military folks into a Raptor truck, and he will take you off-road, and you go jumping, and after that, you put some rounds down range, and he's all about bringing together the veteran and military community, building that camaraderie, and enjoying that time together while just completely taking your mind off of everything else in life and just focusing on the today and the right now and what we're doing with Raptors and Rifles. Episode 145, Wayne Boney, 5-time world champion bull rider. This guy was in the MRCA and a dozen other organizations. This guy has spent his life rodeoing. But the funny thing about it is this guy also spent 20 years in the Air Force. And this guy would go on to places like Camp Pendleton and take first place over all these other Marines, all these other bull riders and bronc riders. And this guy's a team roper. He's a bulldogger. This guy is the real deal. This guy's a 5-time world champ, and he's also been inducted in the Military Rodeo Cowboy Hall of Fame, based in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Episode 146 was the great Shannon Book. We had already talked about his new release last week, April 6th, Dear Mom. Go check it out. Go to YouTube, type in Dear Mom, Shannon Book music, and you will see it. It is amazing. This needs to go viral. It is one of the most genuine, sincere, real, raw, the truth of writing a letter home to mom. Am I going to come home? Am I going to make it? This has got real gold star family members that are in this MTV style music video that he just released last week that was put out by Christopher Martini. Go check it out. Dear Mom on Facebook or on YouTube or on Facebook. Episode 147 was Daryl Utt, who was a U.S. Army Special Forces, also Green Beret. We've had a lot of Green Berets on this show. And he is also one of the directors over at the National Medal of Honor Society in the museum in Dallas right now. That's under construction. And that is an awesome podcast right there. He talks about his career. He talks about his story and about what he's doing right now as one of the executive directors of the National Medal of Honor Foundation, and what their vision is behind it and what this building will look like once it's completed in about another year and a half. Episode 148 was Scott Husing. He is the author, the best-selling author of Echo and Ramadi. He is a former major in the United States Marine Corps combat veteran and a great author, speaker, as well as the president and founder of Save the Brave, a 501c3 that helps veterans and folks in the military from across the country. Episode 149 was Lieutenant Colonel Brandy B.B. King, who is a Air Force C-5 pilot who has nothing but, she is, again, one of the most incredible women that I know. She defied the odds. She became a C-5 pilot. She has a 20-year honorable career, and she's been flying for a very long time. Now she flies for a private commercial airliner, a big airliner. And I mean, C5, I mean, that's as big as they get. And she's also a medical freedom advocate. And this story is amazing. Episode 149. Episode 150, Veterans' Rights, Protections, and Party Politics. This is about doing the right thing in Congress with veteran bills and not to politicize the veteran community. Again, off the backs of vulnerable and at-risk people like the veteran community, and to play games with their, with their emotions and with their lives over political points in political football. We talk about veteran rights, protections, and party politics, and what you can do to get involved to have, a good VA that will, stand up for everybody. My phone is dying here. We've got a few more left that I got to quickly run through. Episode 151 was with Third Coast Barbecue, Troy Mulligan, the pitmaster and the owner at Third Coast Barbecue. Go check him out in Spring, Texas. Episode 152, Timothy Hickey, the founder of Patch Ops. He tells his story and what he's doing right now and today in Cleveland, Ohio area, and how he's representing the veteran and the military and the first responder community on getting the homeless off the streets and the patches that he makes with his business. Episode 153, very special young lady, Kristen Mahaffey, who is a Special Olympics athlete who also rides at the Joyride Center. That was a very inspiring podcast. Episode 153. Episode 154, Successful People Don't Do. And then I go on and I highlight everything that successful people don't do. So if you want to get better at life, Go listen to episode 154 and you will find out what successful people don't do. Episode 155 was Sarah Ullman, a Gold Star spouse, and also the founder of Gold Star Legacy. She lost her husband tragically because of burn pit exposure and died a very sudden death. And this is, again, one of the strongest women I know, Sarah Ullman, episode 155. She tells her story as she is now the widow of a former U.S. Army captain. Episode 156, Jason Steiner, Marine veteran and the president of Hero Stock. Folks, that's right. He's bringing Woodstock to the veteran, military, and first responder community. Hero Stock, and he's having a huge event this September in Ashland, Nebraska. Folks, that is it. That is all 156 of our episodes. I cannot believe how many episodes that we have had. And again, I'm just doing this. I don't have any notes. I'm just going through my phone to see what episode was next. And then I just kind of remember what we talked about and, some of the show highlights. But guys, there's not a bad podcast out there. They're all great. Sit down, give it a shot, listen to one, listen to two, listen to three, share with your neighbors, share with your coworkers, your colleagues, your friends, your family, and let's get this podcast out there to the hearts and minds of millions. And if you know somebody that has a great story or is very deserving of coming on this podcast, reach out to me. Just leave a comment right here. You can tag them, and I'd love to have him or her on. We could talk about their story, and we can get them highlighted right here on the Today with Tally podcast. Folks, don't forget to subscribe to the program. We are on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Facebook, and Twitter. Always, and this is how I always finish my shows. Always remember to stay inspired, stay encouraged, stay motivated, and always stay in the fight. Until next time, for Today with Tally podcast, this is Brian Tally. Good night, Semper Fi, and God bless.